Most people think they are sleeping at night. But they are wrong. Because you can lie in bed for 8 hours and your brain can stay fully active the entire time. Not dreaming, not resting, monitoring. And the worst part is this. You will wake up in the morning thinking you slept, but your nervous system will still be in survival mode and you will never even notice it happening. If this sounds familiar, stay with this video until the end because what you are about to understand explains something most people never connect in their entire life. Most people think they wake up tired because they did not sleep enough. But that is not what is actually happening. You can sleep for 8 hours, sometimes even longer, and still wake up feeling like your brain never fully turned off. Heavy, foggy, mentally stuck in the same loop as yesterday. And if this keeps happening to you, the issue is not sleep duration. The issue is that your brain never fully received the signal that it is safe to stop being alert. So even while your body's lying still, your nervous system stays partially active. Scanning, monitoring, predicting. Sleep is not a shutdown. It is a permission state. Your brain has to allow it, and that permission depends on one system more than anything else. Cortisol. Most people think cortisol is just a stress hormone, but that is only a surface explanation. Cortisol is actually a vigilance regulator. It decides whether your brain stays in monitoring mode or shifts into restoration mode. And here is something most people never consider. You might not be tired because of your day. You might be tired because your brain never actually left survival mode in the first place. And if you're still watching this, you are probably starting to realize this is not just about sleep, but about how your entire nervous system is running in the background of your life. In a healthy system, cortisol follows a precise rhythm. It rises in the morning to wake you up, stays balanced during the day, and gradually drops in the evening. By night, it should reach its lowest point. That drop is the biological signal for deep sleep. But for millions of people today, that drop never fully happens. Cortisol stays elevated, and your brain interprets that in a very simple way. Something is still not safe. Something still needs attention. So instead of shutting down, the brain stays partially awake. Even during sleep, even when you are completely still, there is a control system behind this. It is called the HPA Axis, hypothalamus, pituitary gland, adrenal glands. This system is your internal survival engine. It constantly scans your environment and evaluates only one thing, safety or danger. And before we go deeper, if you are finding this explanation useful, you might want to subscribe, because what we are breaking down here is exactly how your brain is shaping your everyday experience without you realizing it. But now something deeper starts to happen. Your brain does not just respond to stress, it learns patterns from repetition, which means it begins to associate certain times of day with certain internal states. If evenings repeatedly contain stimulation, pressure, emotional load, or mental overload, your brain begins to expect activation at night, not consciously, but biologically. And that expectation becomes powerful because the brain does not only react to reality, it reacts to prediction. This is called predictive regulation. Your brain does not wait for events to happen, it prepares for them in advance. So if it predicts overthinking, stimulation, or difficulty sleeping, it activates alertness before sleep even begins, even while you are still awake. And this creates a hidden loop. You are not only trying to fall asleep, your brain is evaluating whether sleep will work tonight. And that evaluation itself keeps the system active because monitoring creates alertness even when the goal is rest. This is why many people feel something very specific. The moment they lie down and try to sleep, their mind becomes more active. Not because sleep is stressful, but because attention turns inward and internal monitoring increases vigilance. Inside your brain, another system controls timing. The suprachiasmatic nucleus, your biological master clock. It reads light from your environment and decides whether your body is in day mode or night mode. Morning light increases cortisol, night darkness lowers it. But modern life disrupts this completely. Artificial light extends daytime signals deep into the night, so your brain never receives a clear ending. Everything feels continuous, nothing feels fully closed. And this creates a deeper issue. Your nervous system stops trusting night as a stable state because it never experiences consistent transitions into safety. Now, here's something most people miss. The brain is not only trying to regulate sleep, it is trying to minimize uncertainty because uncertainty is interpreted as risk, and risk activates vigilance. So if your nighttime environment feels inconsistent or unpredictable, your brain stays in a predictive scanning mode, even in silence, even in darkness. One of the systems involved in this is the locus coeruleus. It produces norepinephrine, a chemical responsible for alertness. When cortisol stays high, the system stays active, which means part of your brain remains in background surveillance mode, even during sleep. Not fully awake, but not fully offline either. And over time, something important happens. Your nervous system starts normalizing partial alertness, so full shutdown feels unfamiliar, and unfamiliar states are often resisted by the brain. This is why sleep can feel light or incomplete for long periods. Not because sleep is missing, but because full rest is not fully accepted. And if you are still here, this is usually the point where people start realizing they have been blaming themselves for something their nervous system is actually adapting to. Now, here is another hidden mechanism most people never realize. Sleep can actually become worse when you try too hard to control it, because control signals importance, and importance signals threat. So when you lie in bed trying to force sleep, your brain interprets that as a situation that requires monitoring, which increases alertness instead of reducing it. This creates what is called a sleep performance loop. You start evaluating sleep itself, how fast you are falling asleep, whether you are doing it correctly, whether it is working. And every one of those thoughts pulls attention back into awareness, which prevents full shutdown, because sleep cannot happen while it is being observed. There is also another reason nights feel mentally louder than the day. It is not that your thoughts increase, it is that external distraction disappears. During the day, your brain is constantly occupied, inputs, tasks, movement, noise. At night, all of that disappears, so internal processing becomes visible. Unfinished thoughts, emotional residue, unresolved loops, and the brain tries to process them immediately, which keeps activation going. But the deeper truth is this: none of this is permanent. This is a learned system, and learned systems can be changed. Your brain changes through repetition, not intention. So if your nights repeatedly signal safety, calmness, and predictability, your nervous system slowly updates its expectations. Night stops being associated with activation and starts being associated with recovery. Over time, something important happens. Your brain begins lowering cortisol earlier in the cycle, even before sleep begins, because it predicts safety instead of threat. There is something even deeper happening that most people completely miss. Your brain is not just reacting to sleep, it is building identity from sleep patterns, which means over time, it starts to define you as a certain type of sleeper, either someone who sleeps easily or someone who struggles. And once that identity forms, it starts influencing behavior automatically, not consciously, but through expectation. So if you have had many nights of difficulty sleeping, your brain begins to assume that difficulty is normal, and that assumption quietly changes how your nervous system behaves at night. This creates a sleep performance loop that reinforces itself over time. But this system is not permanent. It is adaptive, which means it can also relearn a different pattern. If your brain repeatedly experiences calm evenings without stimulation, it slowly begins to update its prediction model. Night stops being associated with activation and starts being associated with automatic downregulation. Eventually, something very important happens. Night stops being associated with activation and starts being associated with automatic rest. And this is where deep sleep becomes natural again. Not because you forced it, but because your system no longer predicts disruption. At this point, something subtle changes in your experience. You stop thinking about sleep before bed because your brain no longer treats sleep as a problem to solve. It becomes a background process again. like breathing, automatic, unnoticed, reliable. And this is the final shift most people are actually looking for. Not better sleep techniques, but the end of sleep monitoring itself. Because once you stop monitoring sleep, your brain can finally fully enter it. And if this helped you understand something about your own mind, you can let me know in the comments with a single word: sleep. It helps me understand how many people are actually experiencing this quietly. And when that happens, the system completes its cycle. Cortisol drops naturally, vigilance disappears, prediction stops, and the brain returns to what it was designed to do every night: restore, repair, and fully let go.